I'm Lieutenant Jensen, Daniel Jensen, DANIELGENSON, Homicide Commander for Atlanta Police Department. Thank you, everybody, for showing up today. Appreciate your interest in this case. I'm going to discuss the details of the case real quick, then I'll introduce the lead investigator who will introduce the family. So on January 7th this year, just shortly before midnight, DeAndre Houston walked out of the Encore Hookah Lounge at 320 Lucky Street. He left the lounge to go to his car to charge his phone. While he was walking to his car, he was approached by a black Nissan Sentra that was recently carjacked in Midtown, around the area of Spring Street and 3rd Street. There were 3 suspects associated with that vehicle. As Mr. Houston was walking to his car, one of the suspects exited the vehicle and shot Mr. Houston, killing him. After the shooting, the vehicle fled the scene, and it went to the MARTA station on Donnelly Hollowell. From there, they abandoned the car, and they fled on foot. So I'd like to introduce, if y'all don't have any questions so far, I'd like to introduce Investigator Barry, who will introduce the family.
Good afternoon. I'm Investigator Barry, the lead detective in this case. I've been working diligently to come up with all suspects that we can bring to justice for our victim, DeAndre Houston. I want to introduce his family to come out and tell the community how this can help us, how the community can help us close this case. We have his mother, Keisha Houston, sister, Shan Greer, his grandmother, Charlene Houston, and Uncle Antonio.
My son, DeAndre Houston, was a very humble and bright human being. I never thought I'd be in this situation, me or my family members, because he did everything he was supposed to do to keep him from being in this type of situation with this unnecessary gun violence. I would like anyone who have any information pertaining to apprehending the murderers of my son to call Crime Stoppers. I know that you guys don't want to be known as snitches or whatever, but if this was your son or your father or your brother or your uncle, you would be out here saying the same thing. The senseless murder of my son, he had no enemies, really, at all. He was such a good person. Like, no one's perfect, but my son brought light into everyone's life that he came in contact with. And I just don't understand, why would you take his life and then all three of you or 4 of you are going to reap the repercussions of whatever you do, even if it's mentally or psychologically. You're going to eventually be caught, because there's no way you can sleep every night knowing that you've taken someone's life. And the people who are around you who are covering up and condoning whatever you're doing, there's a matter of time that you're going to turn the gun on them, because clearly you have no sense of who life that you'll take. And please, whatever you could do, could you please help us with apprehending the murderers of my son, DeAndre Houston, also known as Padre. And thank everybody around, thank all my family members, thank everybody for supporting me. I know there's a lot of people out here that want justice for my son, who don't want to be seen and don't want to be affiliated with the police department because of the stigma that we have with them. But we're going to have to eventually come together. Some kind of way, we're going to have to come up with a solution where we're going to have to work together, especially as Black people, because this can't keep happening. We're killing all these good kids, killing all the good men, and leaving all the rotten ones out here. Sorry.
Take your time, baby. Take your
Thank you guys for taking the time out for hearing our case. And thank you for the police department for whatever you guys can do to help apprehend the murderers, because they're out here, and then they're probably, there's a matter of time that they're going to kill somebody else, or even you, whoever you're sitting next to, whoever covering up for you, whoever. And if you seen those pictures on the Instagram, that North Face jacket is a green North Face jacket, and it's very distinctive. And nobody has that jacket. Like, it's not a known apparel in the neighborhood. So somebody knows that person. And even the other guy with the tan pants, clothes are very identifiable. Y'all know who these guys are. And please, please, please. And if it was Padre, he would do the same for you. He wouldn't even mind. He wouldn't care about who thought of anything about what somebody said. If it was wrong, he would stand up for you. So please, stand up for Padre, stand up with Padre, and let's stand up for justice.
Does anybody else have any questions or anything else to say?
His sister would like to
speak.
Yeah.
I just would like to thank you all for, taking the interest of this case to actually broadcast it on the news, because a lot of cases does not make the news. It's a lot of kids and people who's been killed by senseless gun violence. And I just want to start out by thanking you all. Thank you, Detective Berry, as well.
Thank you.
And Mr. Hennessy, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hennessy.
Also, I just would like for whoever to know anything, please just come forward. As my mother said, excuse me. He was always here to lend a helping hand to anyone who needed help. And this is our time to repay him, in a sense, to bring whoever did this to bring his killer to justice and make sure that this crime does not go unsolved. And that's all I got to say.
Anybody else like to speak? Just real quick, I want to remind everybody that they can contact Crime Stoppers. The number is 404-577-TIPS or 404-577-8477. There's a $10,000 reward on this case, and you can remain anonymous, so your information will get out there. Again, it's 404-577-TIPS with a $10,000 reward to it. Thank you.